radio station KWO37, broadcasting on a frequency of 162.55 megahertz. The station is operated by the National Weather Service at Oxnard, California, and transmits from a tower on Mount Lukens in the San Gabriel Mountains. This broadcast is also relayed to a transmitter near Sandberg on a frequency of 162.425 megahertz. Here is the latest weather synopsis. High pressure over the region will make today the warmest day of the next 7. The warmest temperatures are expected away from the coast and into the interior portions of the area. Gusty northerly winds will develop each evening through Monday night across southern Santa Barbara County and through the Interstate 5 corridor. A cooling trend should develop between Wednesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on Sunday, June 15th. These were the conditions around Southern California. At downtown Los Angeles, temperature was 79 and relative humidity was 57. Wind was southeast at 1 mile an hour. At Los Angeles Airport, it was mostly sunny. The temperature was 72 and the relative humidity 66%. The wind was southwest at 7 miles an hour. The pressure was 29.92 inches and steady. At Torrance, it was sunny. The temperature was 81. At Long Beach Airport, it was sunny. The temperature was 74 and the relative humidity 61%. The wind was calm. At Santa Ana, it was mostly sunny. The temperature was 75. At Burbank, it was sunny. The temperature was 80. At Van Nuys, it was sunny. The temperature was 82. The wind was southeast at 5 miles an hour. At Ontario, it was mostly sunny. The temperature was 83. At Woodland Hills, temperature was 88 and relative humidity was 33. Wind was calm. The report from Sandberg was not available.
Wow.
At Mount Wilson, temperature was 77 and relative humidity was 15. Wind was southwest at 2 miles an hour. At Lancaster, it was sunny. The temperature was 95. The wind was west at 8 miles an hour. At Palm Springs, it was sunny. The temperature was 105 with a heat index of 98.
Dang.
The wind was calm. At Santa Barbara, it was sunny. The temperature was 67. Around 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on Sunday, June 15th, these were the conditions along the Southern California coast. Across the Southern California waters, at East Santa Barbara Channel buoy, winds were west at 8 knots. Wave heights 3 feet at 6 seconds. Sea temperature 59. Air temperature 59. At Santa Monica Bay buoy, wave height 4 feet at 17 seconds. Sea temperature 66. At San Pedro Channel buoy, wave height 3 feet at 17 seconds. Sea temperature 67. At Santa Monica Basin buoy, winds were southeast at 2 knots. Wave heights 3 feet at 17 seconds. Sea temperature 62. Air temperature 64. At West Santa Barbara Channel buoy, winds were northwest at 19 knots. Sea temperature 59 degrees. Wave height 7 feet. Wave period 9 seconds. At Tanner Banks buoy, winds were northwest at 19 knots. Wave height 6 feet at 9 seconds. Sea temperature 61. Air temperature 58. Here is the surf forecast for the Malibu coast. Beach hazard statement through 3 a.m. Monday. High rip current risk. Today, rip current risk. High. Surf heights 3 to 6 feet. Highest for south-facing beaches. Thunderstorm potential, none expected. Water temperature 60 to 66 degrees. Tides, low tide, minus 0.4 feet at 8:12 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. High tide, 3.5 feet at 3:16 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide, 2.8 feet at 7:13 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Remarks. Mixed south swell and west swell. Monday, rip current risk, moderate. Surf heights, 2 to 4 feet. Thunderstorm potential, none expected. Tides, high tide, 5.1 feet at 1:17 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide, minus 0.1 feet at 8:55 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. High tide, 3.8 feet at 4:02 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide, 2.8 feet at 8:34 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Remarks, mixed west swell and south swell. Here is the surf forecast for the Ventura County beaches. Beach hazards statement through 3 a.m. Monday. High rip current risk. Today, rip current risk, high. Surf heights, 3 to 5 feet. Local sense to 6 feet. Thunderstorm potential, none expected. Water temperature, 62 to 64 degrees. Tides, low tide, minus 0.4 feet at 8:14 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. High tide, 3.5 feet at 3:16 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide, 2.8 feet at 7:15 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Remarks, mixed south swell and west swell. Monday, rip current risk, high. Surf heights, 3 to 5 feet. Thunderstorm potential, none expected. Tides, high tide, 5.1 feet at 1:19 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Low tide, minus 0.2 feet at 8:55 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time.